Welcome back to Plebs on Parade, the show where every pleb is a potential philosopher. I'm your host, Timmy Tether, and today we're talking to plebs about big Bitcoin. Is it good? Is it bad? Let's hear what plebs think. It's Timmy Tether here again in sizzling Scottsdale, Arizona, where I've been monitoring the situation and enjoying White Goy Summer since Maxi Madness. Right now we're talking to Matthew from Colorado. Hello, Matthew, and welcome to Plebs on Parade. The topic du jour is big Bitcoin. Now, big Bitcoin is in control, and I'm curious, what do you think? Is it good? Is it bad? The mic is yours.
Thank you, Timmy. Big Bitcoin is attacking Bitcoin with spam and CSAM nonsense. But most importantly, Big Bitcoin is in cahoots with Andy back to evict humble plebs who are already homeless and prevent them from using sound money.
There you have it. Matthew thinks big Bitcoin is an attack on Bitcoin, and worse, it's kicking humble plebs while they're down. Next, we're talking to Shire Huddle from Dundee. Shire, is big Bitcoin in control? Is compliance really defiance?
Hi, Timmy. Big Bitcoin is in control, innit? I spent 2,000 quid on me pleb nodes, and Big Bitcoin just disregarded them. I'm still considering the fork if the core devs keep bumping uglies instead of doing something about the spam.
Shire Huddle says if core devs don't stop having sex, he's considering forking off and finding out again. Our last pleb is a Plebs on Parade fan favorite and regular guest. It's Terrence from Pasadena. Terrence, big Bitcoin in control. Is it good or is it bad?
Oh no, Timmy. Are you freaking serious right now? Big Bitcoin is David Bailey and Shinobi. David Bailey is in control. Shinobi is pooping on my node. I'm so mad. Stop pooping on my node, Shinobi. You are the retard, not me.
As expected, Terrence fears David Bailey is behind big Bitcoin and wants Shinobi to stop pooping on his node. Big Bitcoin node poopers, Shinobi, sexy core devs. Is it real or is it kayfabe? We may never know.
Did you brick your node? Is your blockchain stalled because you tried to run high-octane pleb slop? If your pleb node stopped syncing to the chain tip, makes grinding noises, or even starts to smoke when it sees another core block, you probably have a BIP 110 problem.
Yep. Another bricked node.
Bring it down to Dave's Pleb Node Repair. Our certified node mechanics will flush that old consensus, clean out the reduced data buildup, remove your obsolete pleb slop parts, and get you back on the information superhighway with a fresh install of Bitcoin Core.
I thought I needed a whole new node.
Nope. You were just running the wrong code.
Most BIP 110 repairs done same day. And this month only, bring in your bricked pleb node and get a free 21-point consensus inspection. Our red team certified clankers will check your blocks, peers, mempool, chain tip, and make sure nobody installed any more soft forks while you weren't looking.
She's running like new. Thank you, Dave's Pleb Node Repair.
Think Bitcoin Core.
Dave's Pleb Node Repair. When your soft fork goes soft, come see Dave. Dave's Pleb Node Repair is not responsible for lost inscriptions, hurt feelings, failed user-activated soft forks, reduced social capital, or arguments about who controls Bitcoin.
Back in January, we told you we were entering the first turning. Some people laughed. They said, "Oh, stop, this is barely the fourth turning." Okay, well now it's August. We're in a stalemate war with Iran. The Strait of Hormuz is closed, oil is soaring, Bitcoin maximalism is dying. Not Bitcoin. You can relax, psychos. Your coins are fine, assuming you rolled the dice. I'm talking about the ideology. Nobody cares anymore. You can still have your conference. You can still yell about running a node, but the rest of civilization has moved on. They're buying GPUs because everyone is pivoting to AI. Your dentist is pivoting to AI. Your unemployed cousin is an agentic commerce founder. The guy who spent 8 years telling you Bitcoin fixes everything now has an NVIDIA profile picture and is explaining inference costs. Meanwhile, women are rallying behind Lindsay Clancy, a mother who murdered her 3 children. And somehow that isn't even the strangest cultural development because nobody knows what anybody actually believes anymore. Everyone is doing kayfabe. The politicians are doing kayfabe. The CEOs are doing kayfabe. Journalists are doing kayfabe. Your friends are doing kayfabe. Half the internet is pretending to be outraged, and the other half is pretending to be retarded. Nobody knows where the bit ends. That was the point. The first turning wasn't going to look like the apocalypse. It was going to look stupid, at least at first. So the institutions don't collapse with Wagner playing while marble columns fall into the sea. They slowly become ridiculous. They stop working. Nobody trusts them. Nobody even bothers defending them. Eventually, everybody agrees they need to be replaced. And then comes the fun part. Replaced with what? Because the people rebuilding civilization are the same people shitposting through it. These are your founding fathers now. They have podcasts, group chats, AI agents, and 14 burner accounts. So buckle up, bitch. Because we're not approaching peak absurdity. We're discovering that there is no peak. It only gets sloppier from here. The old world is being torn down. The new one is being built in real time. And apparently we're going to shitpost through the entire transition. Welcome to the first turning. Don't say we didn't try to warn you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Bugle Weekly. It has been a very active, very tumultuous. A lot of things have happened in the month of August. Bitcoin just had its best week since I can remember. And some people are saying we are so back. The bull market is back. And a lot of people some people predicted it, but a lot of people were caught on the sidelines. They didn't have enough dry powder, not enough USDT. And some are trying to, pour a little cold water on the heated Bitcoin price by saying this is a bull trap, saying that some of the most, like a dead cat bounce, if you know what that is, which is basically some of the most volatile and violent, bull traps and reversal moves can happen in these bear markets to trick people, to trick plebs into feeling bullish again. And some people are pointing to the breaking bond markets as bond prices, interest rates, especially at the long end of the curve, are rising to levels not seen since right before the great financial crisis. This comes on the heels of months, really years, of crazy doomer boomers saying that the yen market, the Japanese central bank, was losing control of the JGB, the yield curve control in Japan, and that was going to have rippling effects and maybe this is happening. Maybe this is what Preston Pish was calling for back in 2020, and he's not even going to be around to take a victory lap. Some people are pointing to the plebs forking off and BIP 110's pleb-activated slot fork humiliating defeat and failure, and saying that has been a bullish catalyst. I think Richard Greaser even said that, the dead weight was gone and now we can go up. Some people point to sacrifices, need creation, selling his Bitcoin for Pokemon cards. Yet other people are looking for an explanation, and as British model David Bailey and Corey Clipston have been repeating the past week, narrative follows price. So everybody's trying to figure out the narrative. Either way, it's been a wild candle, and conditions continue to seem bullish for the Bitcoin price. But my question, Richard, to you, is it okay? Is it respectful to celebrate and be bullish about the potential Bitcoin bull market returning while the wounds of the cold card victims are still fresh? They haven't healed. These people lost everything. Is it okay to celebrate while they're grieving?
It's a very important question that I think we all need to look into. Should we be celebrating until all the rights are wrong? Should we be celebrating while the core devs are having sex? Should we be celebrating while the Samurai developers are still in prison? Should we be celebrating while we still don't have answers for why Swan Bitcoin had a very large position in XRP? Should we be celebrating when the Tracer customer list just got doxxed? Should we be celebrating when plebs at Bitcoin University have incredibly low morales? The education of the future generations looks really abysmal. Should we be celebrating when there has not been a unique thought on a Bitcoin podcast for, I don't know, at least a couple of years? And my answer is yes, we should be celebrating 100%.
Right. It's important to take time during the war, the battle to separate money from state. it is important to take time and celebrate your victories, celebrate the cosmic rewards for those who lowered their time preference and who hodled through some of the darkest times, through the situations to monitor being too many to count. But along the way, you're going to lose pleb. We lost Hadalma. We lost, Nut Stanholm. We lost Asanoa. We lost countless plebs. We lost the Bolts Exchange. We lost, influencers. We lost friends. We lost family members. Some plebs lost their homes and they're living in cars. But we should celebrate because that is what they would want us to do. The cold card victims would want us to be bullish because many of them have started over. And they too are benefiting proportionally to their stack size in their start over stack. It's disrespectful not to be bullish as a Bitcoiner in times like these, I guess is my answer.
I mean, what's the point of winning if you can't celebrate? There's not really a point.
Right. What's the point of being right if you can't go back and shove it in your brother-in-law's face, shove it in your uncle's face, shove it in your father-in-law's face that you were right to buy Bitcoin and to keep hodling. And you were right to miss your cousin's wedding because you were rolling dice because you needed more entropy. You were right. And they should have to acknowledge that.
The lesson of getting your dreams crushed isn't to not have dreams, in my opinion. That's where a lot of people walk away. And like a lot of people are afraid right now to get super bullish. Like we all know where things end, right? Bitcoin at $2 trillion, 2 trillion USDT per coin. We all know that's the end of the super cycle, which we are owed. Has been prophesized
Citadels. Yeah, it's where the citadels are. That's where the global reserve currency, hyper-Bitcoinization, that's where no longer financial advisors no longer exist. Investment stock 401ks no longer exist. And it is better to have gotten bullish and then be rugged by Donald Trump, by the Chinese Bitcoin mining market, and by the FTX collapse, by Tether, whatever. It's better to have been bullish and then rugged by the pipe investors than to not get bullish at all. To never get excited, to never celebrate a little too early.
Absolutely. Well, many of the podcasters have been talking about how the Fed is trapped in a situation where they have to print money. That finally the nothing stops us train money printer is going to go crazy. And, one thing that's very clear is the Fed is stuck in a position right now in which they're mandated to make their shareholders rich, right? And they're coming up against this problem, which is that the crypto exchanges and the stablecoin issuers are needed to buy the treasury bonds in order to prop up the system. And the bond markets have been going crazy. Everybody's got opinion on it. The fiat commentators, they're all getting amped up about how the market's going to break, how AI is going to break. Rod, do you think the Fed equipped with the latest Anthropic model, has what it takes to navigate the circumstances we're in right now?
The old meme, the old mission, many from, the class of 2020, 2021 and before, the mission was to audit the Fed. Ron Paul wrote the book, Audit the Fed. And one of the things that needs to be added to that audit is the ChatGPT logs, the Claude and the Mythos Fables logs. We need to audit and find out if the Fed is getting good information, if they're getting kicked down to the lower models like the red team is, like all the other Americans are. Are these models as good as Anthropic and OpenAI claim? Or is this a kayfabe? Is this a psyop? Because they're not. They don't have enough compute. They don't have enough inference. They don't have enough to kind of really make that step leap that they've been promising. And these guardrails and this, FUD about national security risks and AI being a danger to humanity, but it's just a cover up for the lack of progress that these firms are making. But regardless of that, what they're starting to realize and what the Treasury with Donald Trump, the Federal Reserve, everybody started to realize is they have to press the orange button. They have to buy Bitcoin. They have to go to Mark Goodwin, Bitcoin dollar. They have to go down that path. And if you think about it, Donald Trump's only got into Bitcoin in 2024. He's had to speed run this entire process up the rabbit hole. He had to get into crypto. He had to start thinking maybe blockchain is the real technology here. It's not just Bitcoin or, Bitcoin it's beyond Bitcoin now. He had to have his funds speculating on meme coins. He had to create a DAO and pump and dump on the Discord channel. But like all shitcoiners, eventually he comes to realize it's time to be Bitcoin only. And we're getting to that point. The strategic reserve, the everything we were promised and we hoped for the first few months of the Trump inauguration, what David Bailey promised us, what Kier Richard promised us, what these Republican MAGA Bitcoiners promised us, it's finally here. We weren't wrong. It was just early. And it's finally coming to the inevitable point where nothing stops this train has made it to the Oval Office. They get the meme now, and they're ready to push it. They're ready to push the button. And maybe that is what Bitcoin's responding to, or maybe that's what the bond market is responding to, and they're just reacting to it.
I mean, we're going to see this, the traditional markets continuing to freak out and lose confidence in them as just another person comes to the realization that Bitcoin has already won. Like maybe Scott Bessent has already realized that. Like he was at the PubKey opening in DC. He's been flirting in and around Bitcoin. He's been rubbing shoulders with Bitcoin podcasters.
A lot of large sovereign countries, central banks, international non-government organizations, financial institutions from around the world, they bought a good amount of U.S. bonds and U.S. treasuries, especially the longer end of the curve, the duration end, before they started to realize that we're not in the fourth turning anymore. We're in the first turning. And so they only are now coming up on an opportunity through the terms ending and them rotating into more U.S. government assets and debt. We're deciding not to. We're deciding to let the Treasury buy back their long bonds early. I mean, it was just a few years ago, 2023, I believe, or 2022. No, it was 23 when the bank, like Silicon Valley Bank and the U.S. banking system almost collapsed, and the U.S. put in or the Federal Reserve put in a temporary program because all these long duration bonds had rapidly decreased in value due to the interest rate rise, and they were stuck. And now they're not stuck. Now they're choosing Bitcoin or gold, and so it's really between Luke Roman and the Bitcoin thesis.
I remember that whole situation going down differently. I've been concocting a timeline of major things that have happened. Let me see. I remember very vividly when all the banks started, when Silicon Valley Signature and Silvergate went down. That was...
And this was, this run on these banks. And people pointed to crypto and Bitcoin because it was only a few months after FTX and the cascading failures of 2022 for BlockFi, Celsius, Three Arrows Capital, and then ultimately FTX. And that's, I think, what was it? Silvergate Bank didn't need to be shut down. The FDIC wasn't needed. But these other banks, Signature, right? It had been silly, but all these other banks who failed or came near it in the same time frame, they were mandated by the Fed to hold all these treasuries, especially the longer on the curve, like 7 years, 10 year. And then they raised interest rates the most they had ever done from 2021 up to this point in 2023. So the face value of all of these treasuries, they couldn't support the depositors when they came for rowing the bank. And they don't want to get stuck in that situation. And this is kind of what Fundamentals it talks about in his suit corner slot stuff that he talks about.
Yeah, I think that was I don't know. I'm hoping somebody will go back at some point and dig into that a little bit more, unpack it. I think that the March of 2023 was a very important time in monetary history. And I think it was Matthew Crowder's friend Peter Thiel was involved with some of those bank runs, that he had big deposits in those banks, yanked them all, created the solvency fears. Signature
And
was
then the All
completely...
In podcast, David Sachs, the crypto czar, and Jason Calacanis were the ones on Twitter tweeting to their millions of followers, go to these banks and get your money out now. These banks are failing. And there was no like the credible or official reports that any of these banks were in fact failing or in trouble of failing. But some of the most influential now in politics, not just Silicon Valley, but in financial markets, were at the same time. And these guys are all connected to Peter Thiel very closely. David Sachs founded PayPal with Peter Thiel. We're telling people these banks are failing. Get your money out now. It was a coincidence or, a coordination, but it was a very perilous time.
It's just wild when you start to take important dates and you just put them on a timeline and you just read one after another, because that was essentially the entire U.S. crypto adjacent companies, banking. Pretty much everybody that banked was at one of those three banks that touched the crypto ecosystem, and they all just went down within a few days of each other, like a week. And I don't know. I mean, there's just a lot of financial happenings which are.
I mean, it was about less than 6 months later that Swan had to fire all of its podcasters after it lost one of its major banking relationships. I mean, this was also during Operation Choke Point 2.0. This was happening at the same time. This is when Biden was president, and the federal government, and especially the financial regulators, were actively hostile towards any financial activity that was adjacent to Bitcoin. I mean, this is, again, right after Sam Bankman-Fried, who was funneling billions of dollars to Democratic politicians, had gone down, was in jail, waiting trial, and all of that, all the glaze he was hanging out to these politicians dried up.
Well, it was roughly 5 months before the BlackRock ETF was when they filed for it.
Yeah, so and this was also before CZ Finance was charged, and then he went to, trial, was in prison, and then Binance could no longer use it was the second at sometimes, but at least third biggest stablecoin, definitely one of the biggest in Asia. The Binance stablecoin was forced to be, discontinued, and they had to start using USDC, it's much more regulated than Tether. Tether's regulated, they regulate themselves. They voluntarily comply, where USDC follows, does all the paperwork, etc. The most compliant stablecoin of all of them, I guess.
Anyways, I've been working on this paid subscriber episode, which I'll put at some point, but I've got all these dates kind of compiled together that I've been looking at back to back, and there's a lot happening. There's a lot happening. I feel like the world pre-2020 was things kind of happen every once in a while, and we're boring,
right,
for the most part.
Right.
And then post-2020, it's you get at least 12 major crazy things in a year.
Look forward to the episode and the timeline recap, but back on the where we started with this, with the bond markets and the financial happenings. You were interested in what's going on with Canada and the trade war, which is downstream from the economic, volatility. And this affects our listeners. This affects our friends. This affects the people who make our hardware wallet tutorials. What's going on with Canada, and what does this signal? Because this isn't the first time that the U.S. and Canada have had these brewing trade wars, that it keeps cropping up, and Canada declared that they were at war with us in terms of trade. Today, Prime Minister Carney did.
Well, essentially, the entire country of Canada has Trump derangement syndrome. And it's wild listening to just generally any Canadian speak, because there is so little sovereignty in the way that they, and the things that they communicate. Like, their world is very determined by the happenings or perceived happenings in the United States. And the country, like, there's a lot of NPCs in the United States, and they kind of get segregated to certain parts. I mean, they're scattered everywhere, but like there's like these areas that I like to call libtard citadels, essentially, which is like, it's like a gulag for unhappy, mentally ill people, and they just like pack them into these cities, kind of keep them contained. Yeah, Portland, Seattle, Chicago, where Shinobi is. New York City's kind of like this in some degrees. San Francisco, Los Angeles, but they, like the whole
Vancouver,
country,
Toronto, Quebec, but in a weird way.
So, like, the whole country of Canada is essentially like a giant libtard citadel. It's like the whole country is like Seattle as far as their populace. Like, they're all retarded. And
this is important, though. It is very hard if you're a Canadian and you don't want to be living in a libtard citadel. Their choices are like the frozen tundra, where the winters are harsh and cold. There's no gas stations. If you go to Alberta, you could go to, I guess, vote for, the independence in Alberta. But if you don't comply in these libtard citadels in Canada, you could very well freeze to death. So it's not as, there is that element of it as well, that ultimatum almost, the implication of compliance with the libtard citadel land acknowledgement culture.
Yeah, the reason why I was interested in it is I think most people are looking at the tariff situation and they're throwing their hands up because it seems like it's been nothing burger after nothing burger this whole time, where it's like, okay, these tariffs are supposed to go in effect by September 1st. It's currently August 23rd. So we got a little bit until they're supposed to go in effect. Carney can run around and kayfabe in front of his population, get all the Canadian retards that have Trump derangement syndrome to, be proud of him for standing up against, fascism or, whatever they're thinking or being told. But the thing that I was interested in is, like, how is, in a full-on trade war with Canada, how do American Bitcoin podcasters interact with Canadian Bitcoin podcasters and our Canadian listeners? I don't think our boosts are going to be tariffed coming from Canada, but I don't think it's a situation where we have to like side with our team, right? Or maybe is that the case? Like, maybe American podcasters need to be a little bit more antagonistic against Canadian podcasters. What do you think?
Well, it is a matter of patriotism. This is not the time to, I just talked about being separated from the Citadel in Canada. It's being canceled there. You freeze to death. You don't want to get in a situation where you get isolated from your tribe in the middle of what seems like just another pitter-patter, Trump arguing with foreign countries, making fun of their leaders. And it turns out to be a real conflict. And you don't want to go to Canada to like dodge the draft. And then we go to war, and then you're in a POW camp in a libtard citadel. That's the last place you want to be in a POW camp, is in a libtard citadel. It's going to be still like curry, first of all. But it's going to be cold. It's going to be tough.
So you're saying that the Canadians shouldn't break ranks with their...
I'm saying the Americans shouldn't break ranks. Now, the Canadians, they got to do what's best for their families. I've seen some Canadians, they've posted, stuff about news items they've seen in Europe, the immigration crisis, and just the dystopian, authoritarian, anti-freedom things happening in places like Great Britain. And saying stuff about, if you live in England, you better leave right away. And it's like, well, easier said than done, right? Like if you live in Canada, like Francis Julio from Bull Bitcoin, you got out a long time ago. NVK got out a long time ago. If you haven't left Canada yet, you just have to make the right choice. I don't know. Alberta, maybe you have to vote for independence.
I think it's one of those hard situations where it doesn't feel like there's possibility of the population having some sort of awakening. Like that was
like
one
I said,
of
the awakening already had to have happened. If they're not awake now, it's a kayfabe sleep. They are pretending not to be awake because they are in denial, or they want to blend in and not, raise any suspicions.
Well, this is what a lot of individuals thought was prophesized for them in the fourth turning, was this mass awakening, that people would finally come around and understand that the ideas that they believed in were right. They would understand the importance of hard money because of the inflation, because of all these things that are happening. And like the reality on his face is what's more accurate, is that there's individuals that would rather go in the suicide pods than buy Bitcoin. That the mass awakening isn't happening.
Right. It's so many American voters said we would rather vote for Trump than continue this course with the woke liberal establishment any longer, and we want to switch to fascism. Canadians are saying we'd rather kill ourselves than listen to our orange-pilled Canadian family members and friends talk to us about Bitcoin and libertarian ideology ever again. So, this is something I was trying to communicate, and it's not just for Canada, but so think about today's population, especially young people, the next generation of taxpayers to support the entire system and to pay down national debt. They are gambling degenerates, whether it's Polymarket, Kalshi, Predicts, FanDuel, DraftKings, the sports betting. They just love to gamble. They love to buy lotto tickets. They love to buy scratch-off tickets. Just having lottery tickets, scratch-offs that only pay in Bitcoin would do more to onboard Canadian masses, to onboard immigrants, to onboard the Black community in the United States than a million virtue signaling, orange pilling plebs. Just people buying scratch-offs, winning, and then having to figure out how to collect their gambling profits. That would be hundreds, millions, a billion new Wallet of Satoshi users, new Strike users, new Blue Wallet users, like whatever wallet you want, Sparrow, Ledger, Trezor. Luckily, we came up with this idea for Canada Africold card, but it would sell so many wallets, it would onboard so many people. But the time for Canadians to start another Bitcoin podcast is over. They're wasting their time.
You're saying you do think it's time for Canadians to start another Bitcoin podcast?
Well, I'm saying it's not going to do any good anymore. If you're going to do it, you're doing it for the Americans. You're doing it for the global South. You're not doing it for your countrymen. Because Canadians would rather kill themselves than listen to the Bitcoin podcasts.
Yeah, there's this really weird, strange dynamic which is happening, which is so many Canadian podcasters, they probably have like 90% of their audience in the United States.
Right. And they have Trump derangement syndrome because they have audience capture. This again plays into a kayfabe question. Do Canadians really have Trump derangement syndrome? Or do they just merely want to fit in with a real culture, with people from a real culture, with people who are not just NPC drones in the libtard citadel? You have to have TDS to make it in the libtard citadel, but you want to connect with people in the libtard citadels south of the border too, in another culture. I don't know. They're just captivated by American culture, but it's not just Canadians. All Europeans, the whole world loves or is stuck on the American pop culture standard.
Well, I think this is what creates an identity crisis for them. is because they've always essentially been following the American culture, but they want a sense of self, a sense of sovereignty in a sense. And because they've just kind of followed along with some superficial differences, they just do everything gayer in Canada, slightly gayer than in the US, and then they, have slightly gayer accent, and then they live
It's
in a
hard for
much
that.
colder environment.
They just don't have what it takes to be a toxic Bitcoin maximalist. They're too friendly, too, Canadian nice. And this isn't only a problem for Canadians. There's a lot of plebs. They came to Bitcoin and they were drawn to it because they felt there was a strong community and people who liked the same memes as them, liked the same podcasts. But they had this desire for freedom and self-sovereignty, but they wanted it to follow big Bitcoin and let big Bitcoin control the narrative. But they wanted to be independent and sovereign from it at the same time. And that's a cognitive dissonance that causes a seed to plant, which eventually grows and oftentimes causes plebs to crash out in bear markets. It's this cognitive dissonance from wanting to let Bitcoin be in control, but also want to be self-sovereign.
Absolutely. There's a lot of Bitcoin podcasts that I think are on the edge and might have to become a Blake 2B podcast. Daniel Prince is like that. Cedric Youngelman.
It's a high time preference. We've said this multiple times, but glazing, plebs law, Blake 2B, BIP 110, it oftentimes does gain you a lot of followers, engagement, retweets, and likes and attention in the short term. But it's a melting ice cube of social capital from a social capital standpoint. Glazing Blake 2B and BIP 110 and pleb slot you're debasing yourself in the process of your brand and your social capital. And it's just not worth it.
Do you have any price predictions for this week?
I mean, we're gonna start seeing the 78K gang reemerge if we get kind of a trading band up there. If we shoot up, everybody remembers the 84K gang and the Josh Mandel 84K prophecy. We're gonna return to some of those memes, some of that memory lane, trip down memory lane. And from there, it is, with the moves we made in the past week, we do that again. We're right back at the, 100K live streams on the timeline. And Don't Stop Believing, questions about Don't Stop Believing, maybe coming back a couple of times, laser eyes, all that stuff, 100 push-ups to a day for 100K. We're going to relive a lot of memes, potentially. Or maybe they're right, this is a bull trap. But my price prediction is we're going to hit 84 before October. And then Big Bitcoin's promising to bring back October this year. So I don't know. They seem to be in control. That's what they say. If they can deliver on October this year, it's 220 is in play, as Max Kaiser used to predict.
Well, summer technically ends August 31st. We haven't discussed. We haven't discussed what happens after White Goy Summer. If people can start crashing out at BB again, or what the deal is there. You said Suitcoin Summer. There's a lot going on at the end of this summer that could determine how it's remembered. If the price keeps on running, the paper Bitcoin companies have been pumping hard.
Bitcoin, I anticipate it's going to be remembered either by the fork and the lead up to that, or it's going to be something about as soon as everybody had started making their plans to pivot to AI, it naturally bottomed out. And the thing is, it's kind of like people who, all of us, especially when we were noobs, it's like by the time your friends and family members are convinced to buy Bitcoin in the bull market, they finally return your text asking, hey, can you help me? Show me how to buy Bitcoin. It's usually too late. And by the time a lot of people pivoted to AI, it was already time in reality to pivot back to Bitcoin. Maybe that's the narrative. I don't know. What narratives do you see as an explanation for the summer.
Well, I think Stephen Lubka is foaming at the mouth right now, really hoping for some more paper Bitcoin pumps to be able to call it paper Bitcoin summer. He's got a few days left of summer to potentially be able to cash on that. He's been incredibly quiet this summer, and I think he's like a beach ball that you hold underwater, ready to pop up.
He's ready to soar. He's ready to yeah. I 100% agree. He's not alone. I mean, there's a lot of accounts that are going to, we'll see reactivate just for the end of summer. And, I can tell you, Flutter won't be happy about it. But I think a lot of people are over paper Bitcoin though. They were paper Bitcoin summer. So it would be very funny thinking about how cringe it would be from their perspective. And the funniest, cringest outcome is the most likely. So maybe we ride out the last few weeks of summer in paper Bitcoin style.
I wouldn't be horribly surprised if that's the case.
Without big Bitcoin on the scene, there's going to be a lot more big booties being shaken at paper Bitcoin summer this year if we get a replay. A lot more thongs at paper Bitcoin summer parties this year. A lot of thirst traps. And I'm not just talking about, Bitcoin Boomer, our buddy. He loves posting us thirst traps. And, Isabella's yoga pants. And nobody hates to see those.
Well, yeah. A lot to be looking at this upcoming week. I think it's one of those situations where we're kind of, many of us have had situation monitoring fatigue. And I think it's when a situation, this always happens, right? Like when a situation is new and it's fresh, it's exciting. And people are excited to monitor it. After it drags on, after about, I don't know, what do you think? Like 3 weeks to a month? Then it kind of gets old.
It just depends. I mean, some of these situations, the pictures, the video, the OSINT, open source OSINT accounts, they're hot. They come in and it's, the dopamine is hit when you see, I mean, with all due respect, the dopamine hits hardest the first, 100 times you listen to Boom Boom Tel Aviv. But then, it's just the same. We get desensitized to the grandioseness of the situation. And it takes more and more. It has to continue escalating at an unsustainable rate or to keep people's attention. And if your situation or a bus situation doesn't have enough momentum, inertia, and energy to continue escalating and keeping people's attention, it really it isn't worth it. It's almost like we have to figure out, like, what is the difficulty adjustment? How does the difficulty adjustment on the algorithm have to operate to keep in sync with the right rhythm for monitoring the situation? It's also just impossible to know what's real footage or real pictures and what's AI slop anymore. So it takes away the, credibility of any given post. Because you can't even trust the White House to not post AI slop. So
one of the things I was considering doing this week, which I think is probably a good idea, I'm curious on your thoughts, is I was debating doing a tutorial for plebs on how to check the Clark Moody dashboard. I think many of them might not know how to do it themselves. They've been so accustomed to having Marty do it for them every week for 8 years. Do you think that
I think
would
it'd be
useful?
super helpful. I think that'd be super useful, super helpful. And yeah, you should definitely do that because we don't know when, like some of these swap companies and lightning providers, we don't know when they're going to be back. We don't know when the podcasters who still use Clark Moody's dashboard will be back. Like plebs need to learn a few things. They need to learn how to roll dice, use a Linux command line, and how to look at Clark Moody's dashboard permissionlessly. Yeah, maybe Start 9 should start by apologizing for their bullshit the past year, but they should add a Clark Moody's dashboard app to their Start 9 server software suite. Umbrel should do the same thing.
My question is what is Start 9's next marketing scheme going to be? Does it kind of seem like they...
Probably local AI. I'd be my guess.
That probably would have been a better pivot than the BIP 110 one. They probably would have sold way more devices for that, huh?
Well, they did sell a lot of devices for BIP 110, but they could sell a lot more devices, honestly, by creating a really good user experience and really good harnessing for local AI, sovereign AI.
Well, you got any other topics before we go over to the Found Boost?
No, I think that if you did believe us about the first turning being here when we first brought it up, this is your chance to get on the right path. Start playing by the right set of rules.
So it seems like, I guess one last topic I wanted to discuss is, seems like there's been a national revolt over the flock camera situation.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's makes me optimistic to an extent, or I guess maybe the way I feel is that I feel like I should be feeling optimistic about people's reactions to it. However, for some reason, I'm not. And I don't know why that is yet. I don't know why I'm dismissing it as it's almost maybe it's kind of tied to the data center protests, which are effective, are being done effectively, and are being done for the right reasons, at least that I've seen. So I feel like they're doomed, they're futile. And I hope that that's not what happens with the flop camera thing. But so far, they do seem to not be much more effective. There's been a lot of effective, successful pushback against these in isolated, locations. But it's, flock cameras are monitoring the situation. Is that
I've just been noticing. I've just been noticing as I drive, it seems like there's more and more cameras.
Can you explain why surveillance cameras are not new. They're not uncommon. They are not controversial in most cases. Why is flock different? Why are these cameras different than traditional surveillance cameras?
Well, I think there's other surveillance products that are out there that are even more concerning than flock at the moment. I think it just
flock is the meme that represents all of it.
Well, I think there's some education. I think oftentimes in these revolts against surveillance products like flock, a huge part of it is educating the populace on how monitored they are. Because I feel like a lot of the way that behavioral control of a populace goes, like you get people to behave differently if they feel like they're being watched. And so the revolt against these cameras is, I see it as a big education tool. It's essentially the government telling the people that compliance is defiance. I think there's going to be a lot of tactics employed like this in the future as it just becomes much more difficult to enforce anything.
Yeah, they have all the data. They have all the cameras. They've got all this AI and these databases that are growing and searching, cooperating with each other and searching and in collaboration. It spans data centers and scales and all the compute they could need to do whatever they want, to follow everybody around. But it seems like this has been happening over the past couple of years, especially. But people are being held accountable for their crimes at a lower rate than usual. It seems like people are committing all kinds of violent or financial crimes at an increasing pace, and like nobody's getting in trouble for it. People are not being arrested for going crazy and committing violence on streets, or squatting, or stealing, or doing, or people running and they rush a Walgreens and steal everything, breaking into cars in major cities. So it's like we have all this data, we can surveil it and see it, and everybody's being watched. And when their bad behavior is not punished, it seems even more powerful, because it's like, it's not even this feeling of I got away with it because nobody saw me, or, whatever. It's just like everyone saw me. Everyone has it on HD digital footage of it. It's trending virally on social media, and I still got away with it. I mean, Dylan talked about this the other week, where it's just bands of young people starting chaos and riots and fighting and theft in city centers solely for the purpose of it going viral, and somebody recording it and being the one whose video upload on TikTok or wherever went viral. It's a strange thing to me that these flock cameras are so controversial and people are tearing them down, knocking it. It's almost like they say, if we're going to get any of this chaos and crime and corruption on camera, we are the ones who get to go viral, not Palantir or, one of those CIA accounts. That maybe that's a conspiracy. The CIA meme posters are getting the flock camera footage sent to them so they can post videos on social media and go viral before, Mr. Beast or Nick Shirley or, Nick Sorger, or these guys are, open source intel.
Well, I think the general populace is upset right now because they're looking at all this stuff and they're saying it's not enforced. It's like you get penalized for following the rules to some degree. And so like, you guys watch us, but you don't even stop the people that are doing the bad thing. So why should you be bother watching me? Why should I be okay with you watching me when you don't even stop the bad guys when you're watching them? I think that's their immediate reaction, but yeah, I don't know. Well, we'll have to see how that goes. I wouldn't, I don't think, people are getting, privacy focused in any way. And it's, interesting and almost comical watching the way a lot of it's playing out when everybody's walking around with a smartphone in their pocket.
Between OnlyFans, viral footage, people wanting to go viral, TikTok, I don't think that people have ever not only cared less about privacy, but actively sought out the opposite of privacy. They are seeking out spotlight.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of seeking out spotlight, one of the ways that you can seek out spotlight in the world is by boosting us on the show. And I don't know. Let us know. What are your price predictions? Is this the bull market? You bullish? What do you think of the flock camera situation? And what the hell should the Canadians be doing? If you're Canadian, what the hell is going on? First boost from Logs, 5,000 sats, says, I asked ChatGPT how to combat AI psychosis. It told me to pivot to an ice cold banquet in the stubby bottle, but it wasn't medical advice.
The banquet of beers. An ice cold beer, well, especially in summer, nothing's better than an ice cold banquet beer. And, that can prevent AI psychosis. It can also lead to passing out in the backyard and getting a lot of mosquito bites. Thank you, Lokes. Next is from Sasha. Sasha Hodder, 4,848 cents. Great show. Love the video with all the cameos, too, along with the podcasters.
I had to look up what a banquet beer was. Yeah, if you haven't seen the video yet, go over to the Bugle News YouTube channel and check it out. Sasha was actually featured in it. Thank you for the boost, Sasha. Stack Jared, 2,100 shots, says, not sure if Rabbit Hole Recap is gone forever. TFTC is still posting, but also haven't seen if Citadel Dispatch is going to post more content. Listening to any individual one of these podcasts as your sole source of one's information in this sphere is essentially like trusting an on-device entropy generator for one entropy in information. There's some good information there, but it behaves, but by itself, it leaves one vulnerable to prompt injection. Best practices: listen to a variety of podcasts that all don't say the same thing. And goes on to list the intellectual Silk Road and not the intellectual Silk Road. But yeah, I agree. It's, I don't know. It's hard to say if Rabbit Hole Recap will be coming back any soon. Marty's still slopping away. Don't know about Citadel Dispatch, but yeah, having entropy as far as the podcast you listen to is a great idea.
Man. Next basis with Sean Thousands asked, where can I find the reference client for Cape Fabian consensus? That's core. Core, core, the Bitcoin, Libra Relay, whatever syncs to the current Bitcoin chain tip. That is what the Cape Fabian consensus, and that's how you interact. That's how you pay merchants in the realm of Cape Fabian consensus today.
I would say probably a good place to check out Cape Fabian consensus is at a developer conference like BTC or TabConf.
And the last TabConf is coming up very soon. So if you want to go, better get your tickets quickly and make plans. And I think the next BTC++, I know one coming up in Seoul in November, South Korea.
Jolly Roger, 777 sats says, core devs should be lucky. Core devs should be to get lucky and have sex. It's good for the soul to get lucky. I agree.
That's right.
It's kind of
important. 420 cents. High entropy sources of cultural capital are more important than ever. That's right.
Well, speaking of which, I mean, it's like, it's like, what does Canada have economically? They've got maple syrup. It's like, we don't need, like, if they put like a 50% tariff on Canadian maple syrup, we still have Rev Hodl here in the U.S. peddling maple syrup. I actually got to go see his operation.
Yeah, I mean, probably the hardest adjustment for American Bitcoiners is Canadian maple syrup and Steve Barber's hash shots will be much more expensive.
Shadrack 323 sats says, man cannot live on glaze alone. Hashtag 40HPW.
No, you cannot. No, you cannot. And a lot of plebs found that out recently. Next base to 121 sats. Silas Thornbrook. Appreciate you, gentlemen. Salute emoji, bugle emoji, fire emoji.
Dr. Gang 101 sats says the entropy crisis is pushing us towards entropyism.
I hope so. I certainly hope so.
Well, thank you to our subscribers. Southside Dave, Jolly Roger, used to read a lot, Lahav, Shanrak, BTC on board, Boomer, Fundamentals, Sean, Open Mike, and Avi Burra. Appreciate you guys. Rod, you got anything before we wrap this one up?
Don't be afraid to be bullish. Rage against the dying of the light. Be bullish and buckle up into the night.
I think it's appropriate to be celebrating. You can still celebrate and still be able to have perspective on things that suck in the world that are important to have perspective on. But if
You're
you
not
don't have a
celebrating,
reason
you're
to
crashing out.
What's that?
You're not celebrating, you're crashing out.
Yeah, I mean, it's time to smell the roses. Any chance you can get to smell the roses. Yeah, folks, thank you for listening to this episode of the Bugle Weekly, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Same five guys. Same five. Same five guys, same five chairs, same five just like anybody cares. Same five guys, same five mics, circle jerk going live tonight. Orange coin good, that's what they say. Fed gonna print, just wait someday. Beer market, bitch, oh well. Macro slot and trinkets, hard sell. Algorithm ain't hating you, people just got bored. Can't blame shadow bands, they heard this shit before. And bitch, I'm like, same pod, same pod, same pod, same take. Same guest, same chair, same shit, different day. Same pod, everybody sound the same. Numbers going down, wonder why they went away. Oh, great, another panel, saying what you said on your pod. Getting glazed by the players, making you think you're a god. History of money, God, I can't do it again. Rice stones and seashells, bitch, we know how this one ends. Boomer doomerism, what a joke. Dollars dead for the 100th time, folks. It feels like listening to a broken record. Same bullshit, thinking they clever. And bitch, I'm like, same pod, same pod, same pod, same tape. Same guest, same chair, same shit, different day. Same pod, everybody sound the same. Numbers going down, wonder why they went away. New thumbnail, same guest, new title, same shit, biggest episode yet. Bitch, you said that last 6, fiat bad, yeah we know. Bitcoin good, heard that before. Episode 904, still explaining what a node is for. Mumble, sovereign, individual, mumble, fiat's criminal, mumble, time preference minimal. Say thermodynamics, now I'm intellectual. And bitch, I'm